All right, I have moved all of the dirt that I'm comfortable moving around the Doug fir. I'm going to now climb up in the tree and pull the WeBoost cell phone booster out of the tree, and then I'm going to get serious about cutting it down. What I've decided to do is use the backhoe, the bucket of the backhoe, to kind of push against it to make sure that it falls away from the house. And then I'm going to limb it up and bucket into hopefully at least 1 or 2 20-foot pieces. So let's see how this goes. My wife's grandfather had a remote cabin for many years up in the mountains of northeastern Arizona near a little tiny town called Alpine. Shortly after we were married, more than likely a holiday weekend, we went and spent some time up there with family. Now, thinking back about it, this cabin was off-grid before I understood what being off-grid really was. It was a little tiny cabin that he had built out of stone. And all over this property, he had these giant, beautiful ponderosa pine trees. Now, he told me a story that happened many years before where my wife's biological father walked up on the hill with his new chainsaw and cut down one of these giant ponderosa pines. Even at that point, some 25 years later, he was still bent out of shape about it. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt to both parties simply because of the amount of time that had passed, and who knows where the truth really is. I can't imagine my wife's dad cutting down a giant ponderosa tree without having a reason to do it, but oftentimes our memories from long ago have a tendency to be a little bit selective. Anyway, my wife's stepdad's name is Dave. Now, Dave played a major role in raising my wife, just like her biological father did. But Dave was raised in the high country not far from Alpine. He was raised in a community called Pinetop Lakeside. Pinetop Lakeside has many of these big giant ponderosa pine trees all over it, just like Alpine does. Now, Dave is also a monumental figure in my life. I call him from time to time when I have questions about construction, as he's a general contractor, and he calls me with his guidance and direction when he feels it's necessary. But when we first bought this property, Dave got after me about coming up here and cutting down these trees by myself. He told me a couple different times if I'm going up in the woods to cut trees, that I needed to have somebody with me. He told me that too many times he'd seen fatal or near fatal accidents take place in the woods while chainsaws were being used. I dug too much dirt away from the tree with the backhoe before. I should have left more room to stand. Not only am I prone to slipping off the dirt around the tree, but I don't have much of an exit route getting away from the tree once it starts to fall. The wind keeps blowing the tree back and forth in the wrong direction from where I intend on trying to fall the tree, so I need to use the backhoe to make sure that it's going to fall where I want it to. Now, truth be told, cutting down a maple is significantly different than cutting down this big giant Douglas fir. When I began clearing the property, I never found myself feeling nervous about cutting a maple tree down like I have felt cutting down this big Doug fir. Now, I'm sure if I had more experience cutting down big timber like this, it wouldn't be such an issue, but frankly, this is probably the biggest tree I've ever cut down. The chainsaw I'm using really isn't sufficient for the job, but it's the only chainsaw I have. I found the sharpest chain that I could find and put it on the chainsaw, but my sharpener is still in storage, and I didn't go and try and find it. 64 feet tall. I need to buy me some corks if I'm going to keep doing this. I wanted to make sure that I had somebody nearby when I cut the tree down. My buddy Luke was up here most of the day with me, helping me with the electrical, and I know that Terrell's across the way. But by the time I actually got ready to cut the tree down, Luke left, and I saw Terrell drive away as well. It would have been best to have somebody here to watch from a distance, but I got to get this done. Okay, I got the tree down. Scared the life out of me, but I got it down. Cut it into 20-foot sections, 64 feet long. The tree is almost exactly the same age that my dad was when he died. You might think there's some self-fulfilling prophecy going on, and there may be a little bit, but I counted it 4 times, and it's right around that 70-year mark. Kind of interesting to look at the growth rings, and you can see when the good wet years were, and you can see when the dry years were. But regardless, the tree's down. I tried to get my wife to come up here, but she was not interested in participating in this part of the project up here. She's not real happy with me, but she understands that it's just got to be done. I got all the hill pushed back all the way up to the tree. Tomorrow I'll finish moving the dirt back, and what it did is it turned about a 15-foot gap between the house and the hill into almost a 40-foot gap, 35 feet, something like that. The slope on the hill is not steep enough where I'm concerned about potential dirt sliding off. If you go up on the Forest Service just up the hill, they completely clear-cutted this side of the hill for the cows, and we don't seem to be prone to mudslides. The soil underneath the topsoil is super mineral dense, and it doesn't go anywhere. Matter of fact, oftentimes as we dig into this, we get into super hard zeolite type material that's, you almost got to have dynamite to break it up. So I'm comfortable with the hill. I want to get it back around the corner, and then I want to start laser leveling it and ensure that I've got grade for water to go where it needs to go. But this is a big deal. This is a big check mark off the list. Now I can put the solar panels right here where I want to put them, which is going to allow me to capitalize on the morning sun in the summertime, and in the wintertime I'm going to build the ground mount system to where I can adjust the angle, and I'm going to have three mounts that will each hold 9 panels, and in the wintertime I'll be able to change the angle to capitalize on the sun. But getting this tree down helps me see just what I'm working with, and anyway, it was a good day. I had my buddy Luke up here, and he helped me get the entire panel wired up, which is one of the last things I needed to get done. And I got a ton of dirt moved again. Building that driveway up. Driveway looks really good. Tomorrow I should be able to finish that. Luke has got me talked into investing in some fabric, some felt to go down before I put gravel down. and maybe that will prevent how much gravel I have to put down every year. So I need to check into that, but no accidents, thank goodness. I need to get a bigger chainsaw. This is the biggest tree I've ever cut down. It's every bit of 20 inches across. We plan on going up to the higher country, I should say, in another couple of months, and getting as many trees this size as we can to have up here that can be used to build the pole barn out of, that we want to build our traditional pole barn out of. But anyway, I've been thinking about this a lot, thinking about this tree a lot, and I'm glad this ordeal is over. And I think I'll have Cedar and the kids come up tomorrow and help me clean up all this brush. I don't want to run this stuff through the wood chipper. It's got that sap all over it, so we'll probably just drag it down and burn it tomorrow. But anyway, I feel I'm a little bit, what's the word? I'm a little bit like the wind is out of me now. I think I was, I don't know, getting this done was a big step for me. And like I said, I had a lot of emotions wrapped up in cutting this tree down, but it had to go. I'm going to drag it up on the hill and let it dry out for a couple of years and turn this into probably a kitchen table, something like that. But anyway, it was a good day. Beautiful weather. The weather's just insane. Right before I cut the tree down, the wind kicked up, and I got to hear that wind blowing through the tree one last time, and it was, I act like I just shot my dog or something, but whatever. We really like this tree. We've always, since the very first day we bought this property, this was a beautiful tree, and obviously it's a very healthy tree, and it was a bummer to have to cut this thing down. But we'll have to just plant something in its place. So